might be interested in getting together to go to a Sea Dogs game. So I'm looking to see who's interested, not because I'm looking for volunteers, but I'm trying to get a sense, is this something that the congregation would like to do? So maybe just a quick show of hands, is this something that, oh, I like it, good, super. Okay, so I will work on this in the next couple of weeks and come back with some information, hopefully next Sunday, and we'll talk about when we can get together to go see a ball game together. So, thank you.
Okay, I've got just a couple of announcements. Just to look ahead to the month of July. Remember, the new Gloucester Church is going to come to us on the 22nd, so we'll call that a home game. And then the away game will be there on the 29th. They normally start their service at 9:30, but since they're being gracious hosts, they're willing to wait until 10 o'clock. So do be on time and allow a little bit of extra time on the 29th to get all the way up there to New Gloucester. And along with the idea of the Sea Dogs game, some of us have been thinking about chartering a bus to go somewhere and do something. Okay, so Sea Dogs might work. The advantage of chartering a bus there is everyone just gets on the bus, don't have to worry about parking, all this other stuff, we stay together. And then likewise, in the summer, we could go to one of the many fine state or national parks in the great state of Maine, a beach, a museum, all the way down to Boston, possibly, go to the Fine Arts Museum or the Gardner Museum. And those would be good winter events, too, to get us out of, you know, our rural fastness and darkness and get some enlightenment through culture down there in Boston. So, talk about this, get back to me, get back to Pam. I guess Pam is now the chair of the... You were the chair of the expedition, what do we call it, the Entertainment and Cultural Enrichment Committee.
You're not new anymore.
Yeah.
Are there any other announcements? Then let us prepare for worship.
Let us have the call to worship. Give ear, O my people, to my teachings. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. Things that we have heard and known that our fathers have told us. The glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and the wonders which he has wrought. Which he commanded our fathers to teach to their children. And not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments.
First of all, I'd really like to thank you for inviting me to do a children's message.
You're very welcome. Now, kids, be nice to the substitute teacher.
And secondly, I don't know why I said yes, because I didn't know I was going to follow Carol, who has real talent. And I thought I was going to come after you, because I've been around for a while. And I noticed that sometimes the children don't want to come down for the message. So I was going to come and get you and not worry about all of them. Even if you were in the back, I was going to come get you. But I'm not going to make you do anything yet. I am so delighted to have my first children's message in a long time happen on Father's Day. Children and fathers and mothers and aunties and uncles and friends and neighbors and brothers and sisters do an awful lot to help us know love. They do, don't they? So I was going to come around here and see if I could find some other children who are sort of hidden in the congregation. Oh my! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at this! This place is full of children. You see any more children? You see any more children? No? Just because they're older. They're just a little older. Not like you and me, you and me. They are still children. Oh, you're going to make me cry. Because I was going to look around here and see all the children. Some of the famous ones right here. And I was going to try and figure out, I don't know everything about the Bible. In fact, I know only a little. You could put what I know about the Bible in a very small cup. I've learned a lot here at church. But the one thing I did learn was, as long as I talk about love, I can't go wrong. And then, I don't know what angel did this, but somebody put my prayer up here. And if you want to, you can come over and look at it. But if you don't dare move, like sometimes happens with some older and younger children, I'll come over here. It's perfect. It brings tears to my eyes. Will you pray with me? A father's love. As a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. Psalm 103:13. Now, when I first started learning about the Bible, the word fear scared me. I didn't know I was supposed to fear God until I figured out that fear has a different meaning in the Bible. It means respect. And I like to tag on a little love too. I hope you go around and feel the love of all the people who have been in your life and made your life better. Give a little love back. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you ever do this to me again, don't put Carol in front of me, please.
Carol, maybe you'll do the children's sermon next week.
And I'll play the piano. Yes, yes. Okay.
Please join me for the invocation. Keep, O Lord, your household, the church, in your steadfast faith and love, that through your grace we may proclaim your truth with boldness and minister your justice with compassion. For the sake of our Savior Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with you and the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen. Join me for a moment of silent prayer, and I'll pray on behalf of all. Almighty and everlasting God, with every breath we take, we feel your Spirit. With every step we take, we lift up our prayers and our hearts to you. We give you thanks for calling us together in this special place on this special day. We thank you that your Spirit has moved us to draw near to you and to one another through this fellowship. We give thanks that your Spirit has called us to share the good news of your presence with our friends and neighbors. On this Father's Day, we give thanks for those who've chosen the vocation of fatherhood and parenthood. We thank you for the sacrifice and love and steadfastness of our fathers and grandfathers and mothers and grandmothers and aunts and uncles and teachers throughout the centuries, whose love and caring has made our lives possible and kept our communities together. For those who are sick in mind, body, or spirit, especially those mentioned this morning, and those who care for them, we ask your special blessing. Your special blessing as well for our sister congregations in this town and those Christian congregations around the world who endure persecution and suffering for the gospel's sake. May our hearts be full of gratitude and rejoicing for the gift of life, the gift of family and friends, the gift of being able to gather and worship in a free country, the gift of living in this beautiful place, and the special gift of summer. For friends who gather for picnics, for feasting, for recreation, all those things that we can do while the sun shines and delights our eyes and lifts our hearts. Send out your light and truth, O Lord, that they may lead us, bring us to your holy hill and to your dwelling, and help us to pray as you taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors.
reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 32, verses 24 through 30. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. When the man saw that he did not prevail against Jacob, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and Jacob's thigh was put out of joint as he wrestled with him. And then he said, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said to him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Jacob." Then he said, "Your name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with God and with men, and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked him, "Tell me, I pray, your name." But he said, "Why is it that you ask my name?" And there he blessed him. And so Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, saying, "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." And our New Testament reading is from the first letter to Corinthians, one of my favorite passages, chapter 13, verses 4 through 13. I'm sure we've all heard this a number of times, and I've always loved to hear it, and I wanted to read it. Thank you. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For our knowledge is imperfect, and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. And so faith, hope, and love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Good morning again, and welcome to church. So good to see all of you here and scattered around and balancing out our congregation. It's also nice to see people in color. Summer there's just a little more color than in the winter, and it's very nice. I have been away for 24 of the 36 past hours. I was in Hanover, New Hampshire, for Dartmouth College reunion, and I didn't sleep much because I was having so much fun. Yes, we wore funny hats and we sang silly songs, and we danced a silly dance called the Salty Dog Rag, and took pictures and just had a great time. I'm very privileged to be part of several educational tribes that give me great joy. And let me just say at the outset that the true test of any tribe, any educational institution, is that it enables people to have quality of relationship, and enables you and makes you love. And if love isn't part of your institution, well, the heck with it. That's what we're about here. And I met someone at a reunion who was from Wayne. Does anyone know where Wayne is? It's up north. Is that north? Approximately. All right. There will be more about directionality in some other sermon. And he's just written a book about Wayne, as a matter of fact. He's written a book about Maine, not just Wayne, but Maine. And you may see more of him this summer for some readings from his books. It's a very entertaining, interesting character. And this coming week, I'll be at Notre Dame for my annual liturgical conference, and then I'll be back next week. So next week will be a more or less normal week with Bible study on Thursday morning, the week following this. And I'll look forward to being in the pulpit again on July 1st. It's hard to believe by the time we get back. Next week is the 24th. After that, it's the 1st of July. Excuse me, time staggers on. Now, before the formal sermon starts, I want to just tell a story and read part of the speech because I think it's so good. Exactly 65 years ago, President Eisenhower journeyed to Dartmouth College at the invitation of John Sloan Dickey. Somehow they had met over the years, and John Sloan Dickey had great interest in Canadian affairs. So the future Prime Minister of Canada came to Dartmouth commencement at the same time. So Lester Pearson was their foreign minister at the time, and Ike, of course, was our president at the time. He had just been elected, and they gave him an honorary degree, and he, of course, had to make some remarks. So, just a couple of the initial paragraphs. This is not the famous part of this address by Eisenhower, maybe later this summer. He says, this was right off the bat, I'm going to talk about fun, joy, happiness, just fun and life. And then I'm going to talk a little about courage. Now, as to fun, I shall say this, unless each day can be looked back upon by an individual as one in which he has had some fun, some joy, some real satisfaction, that day is a loss. It is unchristian and wicked, in my opinion, to allow such a thing to occur. Isn't that great? Can you imagine the President of the United States saying something like this? God, that's fabulous. I mean, he was a serious guy. He went to West Point. I mean, it was very serious. Now, there are many different things and thoughts and ideas excuse me, that will contribute to the fun you have out of life. You can go along the bank of a stream in the tropics, and there is a crocodile lying in the sun. He looks the picture of contentment. They tell me that they often live to be a great age, 100 years or more, and still lying in the sun, and that is all that they do. Now, by going to Dartmouth, or I might add, by coming to church, by being part of any worthwhile institution, you have achieved certain standards. One of those standards is, it is no longer so easy for you to have fun. For adults, it takes a little planning. You can't be like a crocodile and sleep away your life and be satisfied. You must do something, and normally it must involve others, something you do for them. So, that is the lesson. There is great fun in being part of this worshiping community. There should be. More about Eisenhower another time. The psalm for the day we read, the Lord established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers to teach their children, that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and arise and tell them to their children, so that they should set their hope in God, and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments. So wrote the psalmist, perhaps King David himself, some 3,000 years ago, certainly well aware of the story of Jacob wrestling with an angel. An angel who, when he discovered he could not prevail against Jacob, he decided to throw Jacob's hip socket out of joint and touch the hollow of his thigh. So just to know what we're talking about this morning's anatomy lesson is take your right hand and reach down there and just smack yourself here. Now you're sitting down and you can feel along your outer thigh bone. That's the hollow of your thigh. Okay? You might feel there's a little bit of hollowness there, and that is where your thigh bone takes a right angle turn and inserts into your pelvis. That's where the angel threw Jacob out of joint. And that particular right angle turn in the thigh bone is called the trochanter. That's the Latin. The Germans call it der große Rohrhügel. Now doesn't that sound classy? Der Rohrhügel. It means the big rolling hill. It's a big rolling hill because if you notice, this thing moves around a lot. If it weren't for that hip socket, we would not have very interesting lives. Our movement would be very, very restricted. Well, anyhow, that's where Jacob got thrown out of joint. And nonetheless, he prevailed. So let us note, in light of this psalm, that one of the fruits of the Spirit is steadfastness, steadiness in a sense of continuity with past generations. Jacob is our spiritual father, an appropriate person to talk about for Father's Day. As our ancestors have been inspired, so are we by those who've come before us. Steadfastness, steadiness is certainly a characteristic of good fathers and good mothers, and good parents in general. In light of the famous story of Jacob wrestling, we note that almost no great accomplishment on earth comes without striving and without sacrifice. We like to think that our fathers were giants, and in fact, they were. They wrestled, probably, with angels and even demons in order to decide to commit to parenthood and stick with it. Out of all the other things they could have done with their lives, our fathers and our mothers decided to have us, and so we honor them. We honor them for making a commitment and recommitting and recommitting. We honor them, and now we bring in our lesson from St. Paul, for the love that gave rise to that commitment and the love that followed that commitment. Remember attending the wedding of one of my best friends a few years ago, a rabbi. Part of the ceremony was a reading of the traditional contract. That's right, in a Jewish wedding, there are not just vows, there is a contract. The celebrant noted that the language, the traditional language of a Jewish wedding, includes what you might expect in a wedding contract, words like honor, cherish, support, respect, and so on, but that the word love is left out. Why? Why would they leave love out of a wedding contract? Well, the rabbi explained, the celebrant, love does not belong in a contract. He said, we believe, and we have taught, that love will certainly be there to help the partners fulfill the contract, and that love will certainly arise because they fulfill the contract. But love is a feeling that comes, and occasionally it goes, And the fact that you do not feel at a particular moment in love with your partner or anyone you love does not mean that you do not love them. Partners, husbands and wives, must give themselves the breathing room for the feeling of love to come, occasionally go, and ultimately to abide. I understand the words of St. Paul to complement what the rabbi said. And yes, I love reading 1 Corinthians 13 at a Christian wedding. I have read and heard the words many times. The part of Paul's letter that I want to bring to our attention this morning is the last part, where he says, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face," which echoes what Jacob said after his wrestling match with the angel. "For I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." This juxtaposition tells us that God is love, yes, and surely more than that. Both love and God can be quite terrifying. Love can morph into its opposite in the twinkling of an eye, and a passion for God, like any passion, can lead us astray from God and become almost satanic. But Paul is ultimately right when he says, love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. So love, simply put, abides. Love takes up residence and is at home, and occasionally needs to take the day off. Most of us, at some point in our lives, have been overcome by passionate, overwhelming love. But Paul does not speak of that love here. He speaks of the love that abides through thick and thin, the love that wrestles with the angels and demons of our nature and prevails. it's time to release whatever is sitting lightly upon your heart, give it wings, and share the good news with us.
Please visit the old part of the cemetery. There was a crew there yesterday cleaning tombstones, and some of the buildings are absolutely beautiful. You can stand and read at a distance what they say.
Cool.
A couple of things. First off, relative to the cemetery, a friend of Marilyn's and mine, Ron Romano, their sixth name, has written a book about one of the prominent carvers who worked with stone, and some of his carvings are in the cemetery, especially right around behind the Historical Society is a very large slate stone that he carved for a prominent mason, which is just a beautiful, beautiful design. And there are other works of his throughout the cemetery. Secondly, I just wanted to say we had a wonderful, wonderful celebration of my mom's life last weekend down in Massachusetts. I think she would have been very happy.
I have two joys. One, Brian Batten's been home for about 2.5 weeks, approximately, and he's doing real good. And the other joy is I'm back playing golf again. Wow.
Carol.
It has been my joy for the last couple of weeks to be rehearsing with Dottie and her sweet little granddaughter, Miss Callie. And it will be your joy if you come here to hear her sing next Sunday.
Didn't know if it was me or someone else. We have had a really good week. Most of you who know Dad is back for the summer, and that's a joy to have him with us again. It's a joy to have our friends Lynn and Rich from Maryland with us for the last week and into next week. And it was a joy to wish Bruce a happy birthday on Thursday, which is always a good day. It's also kind of neat. Flag Day is Bruce's birthday. It's also my parents' anniversary. So 65 years ago, my parents were married. I was the child of one of the 3 children that resulted from that union. And it's always a joy to remember their wedding, although my mom's no longer with us. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Tuesday we were very happy with the outcome of the election. So thank you on behalf of Bruce for everybody who supported him in that. And what else? It's been just a really good week and culminating with Father's Day. And I think as you see the bulletin, the flowers, I wanted to put them on the altar this morning in honor of my dad, my husband, who is a dad, and all of the dads in church this morning. So happy Father's Day.
Hi, my name is Christine. I just wanted to share our experience yesterday at the Blues Festival, which last year they had less attendance, but this year they had a sellout crowd. And what's nice about the Blues Festival is you see all ages dancing. Little old grandmothers dancing, and just families dancing, and it's kind of nice to see. There's a lot of joy and a lot of just love, you know, and so I just think that it's a good experience for people to go.
One of my teachers who I've mentioned a couple of times, Flora Mulder, will be 90 years old next week on the 21st. So she's still active and teaching and conversing on the telephone. And another teacher, speaking of dance, who's one of my great dance teachers, her name is Anna Halpern. She's 97. And she is still teaching and still dancing. She gave a performance at Lincoln Center about 10 years ago. when she was 87. So, keep moving, keep it moving, just keep it moving. All right. That's that, all the way down.
I was privileged to go to Rogene's church last night. Can't tell you the name of it. But I went with Ted and Ruth to listen to the group that has been here so many times, the Sidmans. And Barbie Rock Quartet. It was tremendous. They all looked great, and it was a beautiful night.
Okay, in response to all this joy and God's love, may those deacons please come forward.
I was
to your service, to your love in this church, in this community, and around the world. Through Jesus Christ our Lord.
No, it's one.
I will see you tomorrow morning.
No, I didn't do real good. I shot 49 in front. Well, it was like Brian said, you know when I saw him, we were playing. I'll tell you what, I head up in the middle. Yeah. Oh, he hits the ball a long ways.
Really?
Yeah. I taught him.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I taught him. And his daughter. His daughter's got a beautiful swing. So I'm going to go to the first stage. I can just find my cell phone.
Go get a cookie or something.
Boy, mate.
I got to go back on August 14th. But
Yeah.
David Brad is right here.
Yeah.
But the left guy is 30 right now. And he says, you know, over the